Ladies and gentlemen, good morning for Latin American and the Caribbean. Good afternoon for Europe, and welcome everybody to the seminar on circular economy in the COVID-19 era, challenges and opportunities. This webinar is jointly co-organized by the Government of Slovenia and the EU-LAC Foundation within the framework of the Latin American and Caribbean Days, LAC Days, 2020-2021, of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Slovenia. I would like to say that this webinar is being broadcast live on the EU-LAC Foundation's Facebook page. And also to say that this webinar is being recorded and will be available from tomorrow on our website. I would like to inaugurate the webinar with the welcoming speeches from the State Secretary of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Slovenia, Dr. Stanislav Raskan. Dr. Stanislav Raskan is the State Secretary of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Slovenia. He is a medical doctor and holds doctorate in political science. He has been employed at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs since 1994, and he served in several missions in Tokyo, Tehran, Vienna, and held various positions within the ministry as the head of the Department for Africa, Asia, Middle East, Latin America, and the Pacific, as well as head of the Department of Studies and Analysis and Director General for Multilateral Affairs. Dr. Raskan is fluent in English, German, Serbo-Croat, and Russian. He is assistant professor of the International Security Policy at the Faculty of State and European Studies and has published over 150 articles, co-authored a number of books, and written 2 monographs on international politics. Please, I'm pleased to pass the floor to Dr. Stanislav Raskan. You are mute.
Yes,
Secretary.
now I think it's okay. Yes. Thank you very much. Executive Director Bonilla, esteemed panelists, ladies and gentlemen, thank you first, of course, for introduction. It's a pleasure to welcome you to the webinar on circular economy on the COVID-19 era that Slovenia is organizing jointly with EU-LAC International Foundation. Let me at first express gratitude to our partner, the EU-LAC International Foundation, for their work on this webinar and their daily role as a bridge builder between the 2 regions. While the ties between the EU and LAC regions go long back in history, I am convinced that today they are stronger than ever. I am pleased to note that the EU-LAC Foundation has been playing an important role in the partnership of the 2 regions by strengthening the bi-regional relationship, boosting its visibility, and advancing active participation of various stakeholders. Just as in our daily lives, we know the flexibility and agility of our youth, the EU-LAC Foundation, as a rather new instrument, has consolidated its purpose in the new COVID-19 reality by bringing us together on online platforms. Slovenia, as many other EU member states, has included Latin America and its foreign policy strategy, recognizing the cultural connectedness between the 2, as well as Latin America's political standing at the global level, its economic potential, and its role as a new home to several Slovenian communities. We also are guided by an extensive set of strategic and policy documents on the EU level, among them the joint EU-LAC communication and the joint declaration or partnership with the Pacific Alliance, both from 2019. Yet, the documents are only as strong as their implementation is in practice. On the national initiatives, Slovenia has promoted to bring together the 2 regions in recent years is the Latin America and Caribbean Days International Conference, so-called LAC days, its main purpose is to foster cooperation in the economy, science, research, and culture, with special emphasis on the environment, water, forest, and renewable sources of energy. We have been fortunate to rely on the cooperation with the EU-LAC Foundation also in organizing the LAC Days. I'm thrilled to announce that this year we are able to extend this cooperation also by making a financial contribution to the foundation. Today's event will focus on national circular pathways, circular economy, and global outreach, as well as multilateral platforms. Ladies and gentlemen, the effect of climate change and the COVID-19 crisis have laid bare the unsustainable nature of our economic growth model and for our relationship with the nature. Unless we radically change course, we will soon need another planet to live on. On the other hand, this profound crisis has offered us the opportunity to build back a greener and more resilient world by transforming the way we live, produce, consume, and interact with nature. Slovenia was one of the first countries to recognize the necessity of transitioning from linear development model to regenerative circular model, in which resource use is decoupled from economic growth. Circular economy has become an intrinsic part of Slovenia's strategic development agenda and remains a key element of its post-COVID green recovery program. We believe that this undoubtedly complex system change will bring about a more sustainable, resilient, inclusive, and just socio-economic system that will be able to preserve the planet and its resources for future generations. We are willing to share our experiences of embedding transition to circular economy into all relevant strategic national documents and applying a cross-sectoral, multi-stakeholders approach in preparing the transition. We are currently carrying on a joint project with the European Commission aimed at decarbonizing Slovenia through transition to circular economy. The nationwide project, including a multitude of stakeholders, follows a system-based logic to enable the decarbonization process of Slovenia's social economic system based on a circular economical principles. Circular economy will be among the priorities of Slovenian EU Council presidency in the second half of 2021 and has been included in the working program of the presidency trio, Germany, Portugal, and Slovenia. I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate Ms. Ladeja Košir-Godina, founder and director of Circular Change, and one of today's panelists for her third re-election as a chair of the coordination group of the European Circular Economy Stakeholder Platform. We commend the Circular Change Institute platform and especially Ms. Košir-Godina engagement in developing ties with Brazil and Chile in the field of circular economy, which have a lot of potential to move further, deeper, and also wider in the region, as we'll probably hear in the discussions later today. The European Union has adopted an ambitious action plan on circular economy as part of the Green Deal and Green Recovery implementation. We recognize, however, that we cannot undertake such profound systemic and cultural change alone. In an intrinsically interconnected world, the transition to circular economy cannot be fully achieved unless it becomes a global endeavor. For this, we need collaboration and partnership. As part of its action plan, the EU is envisioning a global alliance on circular economy and resource efficiency. The global alliance will aim at supporting the shift to circular economy and the more efficient use of resources globally. It is expected to be launched in the margins of the 5th meeting of the EU Environment Assembly in February 2021. The EU will be looking for synergies with Latin America Regional Alliance for Circular Economy. Slovenia will actively promote the alliance as well as the need to carry out this transformation globally. Let me thank you again and pass the floor to Executive Director. Thank you very much.
Thank you, State Secretary Stanislav Raskan. I will introduce briefly Dr. Adrian Bonilla, the Executive Director of the EU-LAC Foundation. Dr. Adrian Bonilla has been Executive Director from the EU-LAC Foundation since July this year for a period of 4 years. He holds a doctorate and master's in international relations from the University of Miami, degree in public and social science from the Universidad Central del Ecuador. And before joining the EU-LAC Foundation, Dr. Bonilla was National Secretary of Higher Education in Ecuador and General Secretary for the Latin American Faculty of Social Science, FLACSO. Dr. Bonilla also has published as author and editor 15 books and numerous articles in prestigious academic journals and books in Latin America and the Caribbean, Europe, and the United States. He has been a lecturer and visiting professor at several universities and member of the many editorial bodies of specialized publications. Please, Dr. Bonilla.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon, good morning. I would like to start by welcoming the Honorable Secretary of State for Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Slovenia, Dr. Stanislav Raskan, and to thank Mrs. Irena Grill, Minister Plenipotentiary of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Slovenia, for her role in this webinar. I would also like to thank all the panelists who will be with us today and with the participants who are watching us. I'm grateful to take part in the inauguration of this event, in which we will be able to exchange views on a very important topic of bi-regional EU-Latin American relations, in particular on challenges and opportunities for boosting the circular economy in both regions within the context of post-pandemic recovery. I would also like to stress that it is an honor for the EU-LAC Foundation to co-organize this event with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Slovenia with such a distinguished audience today, thus confirming its interest in the bi-regional partnership between two regions that should act as strategic partners for addressing global challenges in an increasingly complex world. For the EU-LAC Foundation, the cooperation with both Slovenia and the panelists present here is fundamental because it allows us to fulfill our main objectives, which are basically to contribute to the strengthening of the EU-LAC bi-regional partnership process involving participation and inputs of civil societies and other actors, to encourage further mutual knowledge and understanding between the two regions. EU-LAC Foundation is, as you know, an international intergovernmental organization composed by the EU member countries and the Latin American and Caribbean countries. Its mandate comes from the decisions of the head of states, and for instance, the EU-LAC CELAC action plan designed in 2015 at Brussels, the heads of state stated they wanted to seek the necessary financial resources that will contribute to sustainable development, biodiversity conservation, and sustainable use, as well as adaptation to and mitigation of climate change. They wanted to ensure coordination of activities aiming at reducing emissions from deforestation and forest degradation, taking into account the capabilities of the different countries. They also wanted to promote the development of projects in the areas of renewable energy and energy efficiency. And finally, they wanted to support for capacity building on safe and sustainable low carbon technology and low emission development strategies, climate change, monitoring greenhouse gas emissions, reporting and verification, forest and soil management, among other issues. The concept of circular economy involves this agenda. Conventional definitions of the concept used to take into account a focus on reducing raw material use, a focus on reusing products and components, a focus on recycling and reuse of raw materials. Global warming is one of the most conspicuous global issues. It cannot be solved, for example, through unilateral, bilateral, or even regional policies. Those policies have to be global. And one of the conceptual instruments to cope with this challenge is circular economy. That is why this reflection and exercise today is so important. The webinar on circular economies that we have here today is very timely and important. In response to the COVID-19 pandemic, trillions of dollars of economic stimulus are being made available around the world. Calls for recovery in line with other global challenges have never been stronger. That is why many have used the expression build back better, which means an opportunity to build a resilient, low carbon economy recovery. To achieve this goal, societies need to take decisive action that focuses on safeguarding national economies during crisis to pave the way for a broader economic transformation that is more resilient to future global risks. The circular economy is a concrete means of achieving this vision and is now more relevant than ever. The circular economy presents an opportunity for an inclusive and resource-smart future. It is an opportunity for both regions to undertake a transformation that responds with the ambition needed to pursue the sustainable development goals, for example, and to adapt to a world with limited resources. The EU-LAC Foundation is pleased then to contribute to this process by building knowledge and helping to share experiences. With the start of my mandate in July 2020, an internal strategic planning process was initiated that resulted in the identification of actions and initiatives based on priority thematic areas in the current context of bi-regional relations between the European Union, the Latin American and Caribbean countries. These include a sustainable, resilient and inclusive economy. That is our purpose. And yes, of course, to have some policies to confront the climate change challenges. This webinar follows this framework, and we hope that it will help both regions to face the dilemmas and similar problems that affect our societies. I wish you an excellent webinar, and I thank again to the government of Slovenia. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Bonilla. So we are now officially starting the first panel. But before I introduce the first speaker, Mrs. Marieta Jäger, I would like to remember to all the participants that you can send your questions through the chat or the questions and answer button that is on your toolbar. And then at the end of each of the panels, we will address to the panelists for them to answer the questions. If some of the questions are not be able to answer during the chat, we will ask the panelists try to respond in written mode through the chat, or we will send to the participants after the event by posting in our website. So starting the first panel, which is about circular economy and global outreach, we will have the introduction by Mrs. Marieta Jäger. She is currently Deputy Director General for the Director General for International Cooperation and Development, DG DEFCO, at the European Commission. Mrs. Jäger has been working in the European Commission since 2005, starting as Director for Security in DG Energy and Transport, and later being Director for International Energy and Transport Files and Coordination, as well as being Head of the Cabinet of the Transport Commissioner. Before joining the Commission, Mrs. Jäger was more than a decade working on the accession of Slovenia to the European Union for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and she was the first Deputy Permanent Representative of Slovenia to the EU. Mrs. Marieta Jäger will have to leave earlier because she has another meeting, but then after her speeches, Mr. Thibault Portevin will continue in behalf of DG DEFCO. Please go ahead, Mrs. Marieta Jäger.
Thank you very much. Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, let me first thank the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and EU-LAC Foundation for organizing this important event. And special thank, of course, goes to Irena Grill for her efforts in order to make this event happen. And thank you very much for inviting again European Commission. And it is really my pleasure to share a few opening remarks at the beginning of this panel, Circular Economy and Global Outreach. Unfortunately, I need to go to the management retreat. I would love to stay with you, but I have the best colleagues staying and replying to all the questions you may have. I also would like to use this opportunity to congratulate Ladea for important function. She was re-elected again. I have a couple of messages for you, and allow me to be short. So firstly, the EU is committed to promoting a green transition and green recovery from COVID-19 pandemic. We must build back better, but we must build back green. And the circular economy can contribute to such a green recovery. For example, by making value chains more resilient to the shocks and by promoting actions in job-intensive sector. Secondly, what I want to share with you is that environmental and climate crisis and the transition to the sustainable economic model, in my view, require the global action. In line with our Green Deal and also Green Alliances, the partnership we are going to do with partner countries, the EU aims to lead the transition by setting the example, by combining diplomacy, trade policy, and cooperation. The third message I have for you, that the global outreach is a priority of the new EU action plan for the circular economy. And main message is that Latin America and Caribbean are essential for this global transition. You mentioned all the policy documents before their state secretary and executive director, so I'm not going to repeat it, but the EU and the Commission is fully committed to this policy orientation. But the region, its ecosystem, and notably the Amazon, provide the key environmental services, but they are also under the severe threat. And I'm looking forward for the discussion in today's panel about how to deal with these challenges. But acknowledging challenges such as this, the region is also showing the leadership on the circular economy, with new initiatives such as a new Latin America Circular Economy Coalition. And on behalf of European Commission, I would like to congratulate you for that. And as examples that we can have together and this is my last message for you today, that our cooperation increasingly reflects the importance of circular economy. And I can give you a couple of examples. I'll Invest Verde, the program for Latin America that we have just approved this month, which serves to promote growth and jobs through the low carbon economy. And then we have a Switch to Green facility that works for many years very well. And I would also like to mention the partnership for action on the green economy with Uruguay. My colleague Thibault will continue to give you all the examples and how we are going to work together with you I'm really grateful to the Slovenian government and Slovenian Ministry of Foreign Affairs to organize this event in these difficult circumstances. And I'm delighted by your interest and involvement in this important area. And I wish you the best in your current and future endeavor in this field. It was an enormous pleasure and honor to be with you. Hvala lepa in pozdrav Ljubljana. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Jäger. Much appreciated your intervention. We know that you will be busy this afternoon, but now we are going to give continuity in behalf of DG DEFCO, passing the floor to Mr. Thibault Portovin, his policy officer for green economy at the DG DEFCO. He currently works on the external dimension of the new EU Circular Economy Action Plan, and he is responsible for several EU-supported initiatives in this area, notably the Switch to Green Flagship program, supporting green business development in the EU partner countries. Mr. Thibault previously worked at the EU delegation to Indonesia, where he was in charge of forestry and climate change cooperation, and with several international NGO programs. He holds master degrees in business and development. Please welcome Mr. Thibault. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jäger. I'm very happy to be part in this panel. I have two slides to support my intervention, which I will try to display. Hoping this works. Does it work well?
Yes.
Okay. Right. So I work in the team of Marietta Jäger. She already explained the overall policy objectives, ambition of the EU. So my short intervention will focus on concrete examples and elaborating a bit on the external dimension of the Circular Economy Action Plan, because this plan is very much, I think, very interesting in the context of this panel. It is about outreach, and outreach is precisely one of our priorities for our work on circular economy at global level. So what does it mean concretely? The Circular Economy Action Plan has an important external dimension. The idea is to use all the EU policy tools, policy areas to contribute to this ambition. Trade is one of it, international cooperation, development, this is another one. And outreach, diplomacy in general, this is also very much a priority of the action plan and something we see as essential to support the transition to the circular economy at global level. So outreach can have different meanings in this context. There's been a lot of outreach already from the EU over the past years on circular economy. One of the ambitions in the new action plan is to pursue what has started as circular economy missions. There's been a number of these missions which consist in policy and business dialogue with the government, the private sector and stakeholders in partner countries. These have been important missions, usually organized either at commissioner or at director general level on the side of the Commission, to share EU's experience and discuss with partners about the transition, see how we can cooperate and identify business opportunities. So these missions have taken place at global level, but already have covered a number of countries in Latin America, for example, Chile, Colombia and Mexico, and other missions are foreseen, although they have been put on hold for the moment due to the sanitary crisis. There is also the ambition to pursue and develop a Green Deal diplomacy, so to organize outreach démarches to partner countries. And there was one organized, for instance, during the summer to promote EU's approach on a green recovery using the Green Deal as a compass for the recovery. So that's also the kind of activities organized for outreach activities. I would also like to mention the intention to work even more closely with EU member states in the context of international cooperation. For instance, we are in the process of what we call the programming of EU cooperation priorities for the 7 coming years, in line with the EU budget cycles for the period 2021-2027. And a key characteristic of this programming exercise is the development of what we call Team Europe initiatives, in partnership between the European Commission and EU member states. Outreach is also related to the other dimensions of the external part of the Circular Economy Action Plan. One of the ambitions, for instance, is to establish a global circular economy alliance for dialogue among governments to build knowledge and develop the governance for circular economy, the global governance. That's an initiative which is advancing. There is the ambition to launch it, hopefully, in the context of the 5th edition of the UN Environment Assembly in February 2021. So you can see that there is quite a lot of work being done to promote the circular economy and more broadly the Green Deal through diplomacy, through outreach and engagement with partner countries, including in Latin America. I have another slide. This time to refer to cooperation in the Latin America region. I'm sorry, I'm afraid the screen has disappeared. All right. So this is, we were asked to share our experience promoting circular economy. So besides the outreach, of course, cooperation, the implementation of cooperation programs is an important priority for DEFCO in particular. We have a number of cooperation programs in this area being implemented for a number of years. I'm sorry, I'm trying to get back to the right screen. I hope this time it's okay. No, it still seems to disappear. Sorry for the problem. Hopefully you can still see, although it might be a bit small. We see 4 main areas of cooperation, which we see as reflecting the needs and the drivers of the transition. One is about developing knowledge for the circular economy. I think there is a global recognition, there is a need to better knowledge to show the evidence of the potential contribution of circular economy, for instance, to creation of employment, to jobs, the contribution to tackling climate change, for instance, to reduce pollution. All these benefits need to be documented. Documentation evidence starts to become more available at EU level, but we think that overall at global level, there is a need for more evidence. We have a number of initiatives supporting this type of work in Latin America. For example, the Green Economy Coalition. This is an initiative we support, which promotes civil society participation in policy development and which contributes to raise awareness and build society support for circular economy reforms. Another important area of action is the development of enabling frameworks. So the development of policy frameworks, of regulatory frameworks. Circular economy is a relatively new policy area. There's a need to build a coherence between economic policies and environmental policies. So this is the type of one of the areas of intervention of our cooperation. We are, for instance, supporting through the Switch to Green facility, which Marieta Jäger referred to, the development of the circular economy strategy in Colombia. This is the type of support we are doing. The Partnership for Action on Green Economy as well works on this in this area. They work specifically on circular economy in Uruguay. I think there's also the recognition that circular economy can be an important contribution to climate action, and there's growing emphasis on circular economy as a tool that needs to be present in the nationally determined contributions for climate change, the NDCs. And that's reflected in one of the instruments we support, including in Latin America, such as the NDC partnership. Financing, of course, this is also one of the what we see as a barrier for the transition to circular economy. Even when there is a clear business case for greener practices by the private sector, access to finance is in many cases a barrier, in particular when there is a need for significant investments. Again, Marieta Jäger referred to this program, financing. On the EU side, we promote financing for the circular economy through different means. Alinvest, for instance, does a lot of studies, dialogue between development partners, the business community, investors. We also have other initiatives which try to develop a risk-sharing mechanism using blending mechanism to facilitate investments in green sectors. And then a fourth area of action, which we see as a priority, is the engagement with the private sector. That includes support to enterprises, and here we tend to focus specifically on micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises. But that also means engaging with larger industries, larger enterprises, the buyers who have an influence on value chains. And this is also the type of activities we support. This program, I'm not sure it's pronounced, MIPIME, is delivered. That's a program in Paraguay that focuses on support to the private sector and SMEs and integrate circular economy, low carbon development, green practices as part of this work. A lot of our work on engaging and supporting the private sector is done through the private sector itself, business organizations, whether it's federations of SMEs, for instance, or sectoral associations. So here I wanted to give you a quick overview of the different areas of work that we are implementing to implement the policy ambitions that Marietta Jäger. I'm happy to provide any clarification or to answer questions if there are after the next intervention. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Portevin. We're glad to hear that you're going to plan this Alinvest Green Verde, because we have a couple of weeks ago, jointly with the Alinvest, a seminar on the closure of this 5.0 program. And so it's very welcome now that you are planning this focus on green economy through to the next phase of Alinvest. Now I would like to introduce Mrs. Ladeia Godina-Kozier. Mrs. Ladeia is an international circular economy expert, very well recognized, as you can listen from previous interventions. She is a speaker, moderator, founder, and CEO of the Circular Change, and co-leader of the research group of circular economy systems at the BCSSS, and chair of the European Circular Economy Stakeholder Platform within the EU. Mrs. Ladeia is the co-author of the Roadmap Towards the Circular Economy in Slovenia and in Serbia, and she was the finalist of the Circular Leadership Award 2018 within Davos World Economic Forum. Please, the floor is with you, Mrs. Ladeia.
Thank you very much for this nice introduction, and hello to everyone who is behind the screen. So it's hard to speak through this monitor, not feeling the atmosphere of Latin America, because by working with friends in different countries, and two of them are here, Beatrice and Lynette, we have learned actually how important it is to exchange not only the knowledge, but also the energy and the spirit to make this circular transition a reality. So I would also like to thank very much to Mr. Raščan for mentioning all the work that has been done in our region, as well as what we are doing in Europe through the platform, to Mr. Bonilla for mentioning everything what he has, and to Miss Irina Grill, because she is behind the whole show. And already last year, she put it, circular economy, in the focus of LAC days. So it is very important that we have this continuity. And I would like now to encourage also those who are today with us listening to really use the chat box, questions and answers, and we will do our best to make this session interesting. So I will share the screen with you now because I have a few slides. Sometimes images tell more than words. So let me try to do that. Okay, here we go. So, okay. So, yeah, what I would like to stress today, because we have heard a very nice overview of what is happening on the level of European Union. So Ms. Jäger and then Mr. Portevin have introduced actually Green Deal as well as Circular Economy Action Plan. So I will touch it from a different perspective. So as you can see, here are the friends. So we are working from the ground, and with Lynette and Beatrice, both I have already mentioned, we went through a quite exciting journey already, particularly with Brazil, because since now already for 4 years, we are active also under the umbrella of Circular Hotspot, the Holland initiative, the one they launched during their EU presidency. From this, we can see how important it is that we have events like this, because through such exchange, we can meet people, we can see who is working on what, and we can also share our fears, our dreams. So this really counts. And on the other hand, with Lynette and her team of EuroChile, we are now working on their circular economy roadmap. And I must say that this is super exciting journey. Particularly due to the fact that we can only work online, and sometimes it is extremely challenging to focus on all the parts and ingredients of this systemic process. So I would like to thank both friends for everything what we have already experienced, and this is, I think, very good case of how Latin America and Europe already collaborates. Of course, in these challenging times, pandemic times, and faced with climate crisis still, there is something what brings hope. And taking European Union and putting it as a kind of an epicenter of this green transition and really a circular movement, it is good that now even the money has been allocated for this green recovery. So if I go now a little bit to circular change, why? Because while we are working on the ground, we realize how important it is that in different countries, different change makers are recognized. So it is great that we have policy, that we have all the reports, all these important guidelines, but without people who are working on the ground, connecting the dots, the change cannot happen. And it has been so nicely recognized also by the European Commission, and as the chair of European Circular Economy Stakeholder Platform, I can see this movement, this shift, you know, how really open we are now for this collaboration and for stakeholders engagement. So to find, as I said, to see who is doing what, then to enable those change makers and to empower them to contribute to the whole process of the transformation. So that is actually what we are doing with circular change, and therefore we have a kind of slogan that we are the best entry point for your circular journey. We are not experts for everything, but once we understand who needs what, we can connect the dots on the global level. So we have really strong network, and as you have seen previously, by knowing people all around the globe who are working on the similar challenges or projects, we can really move forward much faster than we would if we would start always from the scratch. So this stakeholders engagement, so from the government, business sector, we have heard today, creatives, because we need innovation, we need a new mindset, a fresh kind of ideas to put these parts together and to enable this Build Back Better story, actually. So that is where we are and what we do. And what is also important through our conference, the Circular Change that we are organizing every year, we are really setting the trends in a way. And also Beatrice and Brazil story has been already introduced at this event. So this is one of those meetings of the circular change makers that are putting trends on the table. So we discuss, and also as today, Janja Kruitmeijer, who is also one of the panelists, she will explain what we did with the circular economy roadmap, for example, and it was back then introduced also during this event. So we also see this time now, like our platform Circular Change is really a platform for circular chance. It has been said that now we have the opportunity really to build back better, but it is not about building back only. It is about rethinking the whole system. So we see that actually our system, the health system, has collapsed in a way, as well as we have challenges now with the educational system, the same with food system, and so on and so on. So we have two parts of the same coin. One is, of course, climate crisis, and the other is this pandemic crisis. And only by understanding this as a holistic thing, so that needs this systemic approach, we can jointly co-create solutions. And it has been said already that in EU we have this policy framework, the Green Deal, and Ursula von der Leyen is always stressing that it is really important that this recovery is green recovery. And we have only one chance now. Now the money is allocated. So I sincerely hope that we will invest it wisely and not just spend it on something what will not enable us to rebuild thriving economy and society. So we have also circular economy action plan. So I will not go into the Green Deal, but what I would like to emphasize here is that Green Deal is a kind of a compass, really showing the direction. And whenever we think about the solutions, and we as decision makers do that on daily basis, this serves as a kind of a compass. So we can ask ourselves, oh, is this decision leading towards the implementation of the European Green Deal or not? So I would really not recommend, it is too strong word, but I would really suggest that we take a look at this, at least at this slide more often, and to check whether those decisions that we are taking are aligned with what we have promised through Green Deal. And I would like to mention something related to the Circular Economy Action Plan. As the Circular Economy Stakeholder Platform, we also gave some recommendations or feedback on this very valuable document. And I like to call it a kind of a cookbook, because it's really written in a way that it is super useful. And what is good about the structure, again, the different stakeholders can find guidelines for their transformation. So it can be on the policy level, or it can be on the level of value chains or value systems, because we really need radical change here. It is also focused on specific sectors. So now we see that everything is interdependent and interconnected, no matter whether you are in a construction business or in a fashion industry. We do have same challenges, and by collaboration, we can solve the problems. As well as, of course, the whole story about, or the concept about circular economy is about how to maintain value. So once we create, we produce something, how to maintain that for as long as possible. And here we need different design. So here we need innovations as well. So that is also very important that we understand it is not related to the management of the waste. It is very much embedded in the first stage of thinking, of designing things, and changing our patterns of behavior as well. So all these cross-cutting actions are very well explained. And to conclude, what we see as circular change and also as the platform is that by collaborating with different countries, we learn so much from each other. And now when we are collaborating with EuroChile on the circular economy road mapping process, I was so happy when I saw that circular culture is actually in the core of the document, you know, because when we started, let's say in Europe and the first countries when they were promoting or introducing their roadmaps, it was everything very much on the economy, of course, and on business, but we need both. So the business is important, but the culture as such and our behavior and the tradition we have and the values we share, this is in the core of our essence of our society and should be embedded in our work. So I would like to invite you at the very end really to check what the European Circular Economy Stakeholder Platform is offering. We are the network of networks. We are not closed. It is not only for EU members. It is really aimed to foster the transition all around the globe. And we are inviting you to contribute with your good practices, with the announcement of events like we did this time, with exchange of knowledge and so on and so on. So please check what you can do with us together, and you will definitely get our support. And what we are bringing is really this sense of community. So to conclude, because I love quotes very much, and I think this one is particularly useful for these times, life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards. So I would like to conclude with that, leaving the stage to the others and remaining here for all the questions that might appear. So thank you once again very much, and keep the spirit, get inspired, and you will hear the stories of true circular change makers later on. So thank you once again.
Thank you very much, Ladea. And I would like to say that we have already received some questions. One for Mr. Portavon, but he has already replied through to the chat, to the Q&A. So if it's possible, because we are constrained with the time, we can come back orally and answer other further questions. So far, there is no others. There is another one that I will actually address to the countries from Latin America after the second panel that we are gonna start right now. So this second panel is dedicated to the national pathways. And we're gonna hear now specific country cases, and starting by Slovenia, I would like to introduce Mrs. Janja Kreitmeier-Mackenzie. Janja Kreitmeier-Mackenzie is a circular economy and urban development expert and senior counselor within the Ministry for the Environment and Spatial Planning in Slovenia. Since 2014, she has worked on the transition to a green and circular economy in Slovenia. From 2015 to July 2018, she worked as a deputy head of partnership for green economy in Slovenia, which was led by the Office of the Prime Minister. She has also extensive experience in the international environment as a member of various bodies within the EU, UN, and the OECD in the area of urban development and circular economy. Janja started her career as an architect and obtained a master's degree in urban planning from the Columbia University in New York. Please, the floor is with you, Janja.
Thank you. Hello to everyone, and thanks for the introduction. I would like to thank EU-LAC Foundation, as well as our Ministry for Foreign Affairs and Irena for the invitation today, and to be able to share a little bit of our experience in our activities on this journey to circular economy as the government, from the government point of view. So I will also share my presentation. I think it's okay.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. So I will talk you through very quickly through the whole process of what we have done since the beginning, just to make you understand what were the steps taken, and tell you a little bit of the current activity that we are doing right now. So we started in 2014, and we started this as understanding that transition to circular economy means a process. It's a change of thinking, it's a change of society. We know now, by now, this is a change of how we behave, how we produce, how we consume, and so on. So we decided to start with communication as the key strategy on our journey. And in this, we created also a kind of a new governance structure to help us do all this, and that was called at the time Partnership for a Green Economy. We had circular economy as a core model, but in 2014 we thought it was too soon to name it circular economy, because people were too afraid of this concept. They thought that they have to stop what they're doing. That's not for everyone, and so on. So we also studied a little bit the atmosphere on the ground, and decided to use this word and slowly introduce the circular models as we went. The point of this partnership was that it was composed of the core intersectoral group of state secretaries of 7 core ministries that work together, but also we opened this partnership to all the stakeholders in Slovenia. In the 2 years of work, in this course of 2 years, we got more than 2,000 partners that joined our journey and worked together with us. And the main point of this platform was that we also had opportunity to work between government and stakeholders, that we had a dialogue that went back and forth in both directions, and that we, the main effort that we put into this was that the dialogue was really open, that we talked freely and tried to develop solutions together, not that we were sitting at 2 different bridges of the river and looking at each other across. I would like to also underline that already at the very beginning of our work, we identified also cities as the key enablers for this change and transition to circular economy, not just businesses. Okay, of course, economy and businesses are obvious because the circular economy is addressing economy, but cities are extremely important because these are communities where we live in. They are the most in touch with their citizens, much more than the national government. And they are also in charge of a lot of services, providing the services, and are also managing a lot of resources and waste as a resource as well in circular economy. So there are a lot of opportunities that we are exploring together with cities. So we had a lot of cities on board in this journey. The most important, maybe just to say that the way we designed our activity is also that we decided to go all the way on the ground to all the regions in Slovenia. We have 12 statistical regions, and these regions have regional development agencies and municipalities. So we started to our journey through all these regions and motivating not just communities in the regions, but also businesses of the regions to join us, to come and discuss the potential solutions together. And in this journey that started with this framework program for transition to green economy, which we adopted in 2015, this was our first official document. And this document actually set up this partnership for green economy and also set up the ways that we decided to build this transition process. We started to work on the ground and then continued this work through the preparation of the roadmap towards the circular economy, which was the second important document in Slovenia. Ladea Godnja-Košir today is here. She was in charge of the consortium that prepared this roadmap together with the government, and it was really based, that's a specific quality or characteristics of this roadmap that was based from the bottom-up knowledge on the opportunities in Slovenia for circular transition. The roadmap was important because the roadmap brought us some focus areas which are the first to address, or the most efficient to address, to transition to circular economy based on Slovene characteristics, and also gave some recommendations to the government for the actions for the future systemic approach and change. So then after that roadmap, which was launched at the Circular Change Conference, it was purposely launched at the conference, not adopted to the government, because we wanted this to be stakeholders document and people's document, and to kind of give this message that this is a living thing and it's owned by everyone in Slovenia. And then we were at the point that we needed implementation of everything that we found out so far. So we were thinking how, and we decided not to do a traditional action plan, which usually follows strategies or guidelines, but we embarked on a very complex journey together with some European institutions, more specifically EIT Climate Kick and EIT Raw Materials and the Joint Research Center of European Commission. And started the project that already was mentioned by Mr. State Secretary, Mr. Raščan today. It's called a deep demonstration of a circular regenerative economy in Slovenia. So we decided to go into this deep dive, how to embed truly a change that will help us switch the way we think today and the way we do things. So change business as usual to open minds and to set up something that will create a more permanent change than just specific measures. This is how it's really briefly looks like this very complex, we call it a project, but it's really a compilation of programs. I cannot explain it in detail today, but this is just to give you an idea. We have 3 vertical pillars and some horizontal programs. The vertical pillars are important because they are addressing all the important parts. Communities, so support to communities, support to businesses, and support to knowledge, and support to policymakers. So the change has to happen also within the public service and the public servants, and how we create strategies, policies, and measures. And then we are supporting this with 3 horizontal programs. The most important one is Center for Smart and Circular Transition. I say most important because it's really where the coordination and orchestration of all these activities will happen, but will also embed a hub for circular economy of the region, which is for us something that we've been trying to establish already, but since we started this project, we wanted to create it within one I would say, entity. And this will be a really important podium also for the international cooperation. We are really eager to cooperate across, I will say, within EU and of course globally as well. But we want to have even more capacities and connect all the, I will say, energy and activities in more coordinated way. So we are really looking forward to this structure. Then we have another horizontal program is Transformation Capital, which is also very important because it will help us bring finances together, blend the finances between private, public sector to create more value for the investment. And of course, testing all this in practice will be done through another horizontal project, that's Circular Transition Pilots. These are based on 5 value chains. 4 are already identified by the roadmap, and we added already also the sustainable building. So this whole project is basically based on all the documents that exist in Slovenia and all the efforts that were already made, and is bringing together the activities through the transformative change. This is the knowledge that's also brought in by the climate kicks, and it's this is the change that we want to address when we will be implementing our, our policies through our goals and normal measures. We want to change this to work together through the same, instead of making a lot of projects together, to make a portfolio and follow the same goals through the projects. So working together through the common projects, through this systemic change. This activity, I have to mention, is also the same important, the most important is cooperation and partnership. This is basically what circular economy is. I think there was many times mentioned today before already that without that we don't achieve anything. And this slide here shows the cooperation that we have within this project, but it goes the same for international cooperation. Exchange of best practices, exchange of knowledge is what gives us ability to move on and to create this new concepts which are developing as we go. Actually, circular economy is not some science that is just a concept that we all understand today, but we always have new innovation, new ideas, new business models that we can improve and implement throughout this process. And for the end, just to inform you of the state of play in Slovenia, we are now in the implementation phase of the program. We are setting up last I will say, financial and legal details to start this program. And the same goes for the Center for Circular Economy in Slovenia. And the coming presidency that was already mentioned today as well, also for our ministry, green recovery and circular economy are among the priorities. And as much as this COVID pandemic brought a lot of negative things, but at the same time, we have to see it as opportunity, and circular economy is something that's really gaining perspective with this recovery from COVID-19, because it's not just about economy, it's actually about the quality of life and about enabling us to be resilient enough and to be able to cope with these kind of changes. And circular economy models are offering kind of answers and solutions to improve everything from our life to preserve natural resources, but also to back to economy, to make economy really competitive and to help it survive. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Janja, and glad to hear how well advanced and structured is the roadmap for implementing the program in Slovenia, and welcome that you are going to promote this through the presidency of the EU next year. I would like to come back on the first panel. There was one question. I don't know if Ladea would like to make any additional comments. One of the participants asked, how can we better engage in circularity in some Latin American countries that are currently struggling with environmental management strategies and policies based on the experience that the EU countries have made so far? Would you like to make, because this was actually addressed by to both of yourselves from the EU, but Mr. Thibault Portevin already replied through the chat, so I don't know if you'd like to make some additional comments. Yes? You are mute. Yes?
Okay.
Yes.
Troubles with the connection.
Now it's,
so sorry, I missed the last part, but I saw the question and I replied. I would just like to add, or to repeat something what I wrote, that it is very important to recognize, let's say, change makers in the field of circular economy with whom you can start the whole process. And in those countries, so sometimes these are the representatives of the government, sometimes these are representatives of the business. So it's very important to find those who can start the collaboration. And I emphasized also the role of circular economy stakeholder platform, where we are willing really to start this collaboration. So.
Oh, perfect. Actually, there is another question in this direction for now from the Latin American panelists about the possibility of creating such an alliance or platform, the same that we have in Europe, in Latin America. But before we go to this other question, I would like now to pass the floor to Beatriz Luz. She studied and worked in the UK for 10 years, which has helped her to gain a broader view on sustainable development through value creation and impact. Since 2015, with Exchange for Change in Brazil, she has been working advising government and assisting business in the country, in Brazil, on their circular transition strategies. Beatriz has published the first circular economy book in Portuguese together with Dutch experts. There was a webinar a couple of weeks ago on the launching of this book. And she is also expecting to publish a second that is on the way. And she is a representative of Brazilian ISO committee and guest professor in many Brazilian universities. Please, Beatriz, the floor is with you.
Well, thank you very much, Nestor, and it's a pleasure and an honor to be here with all of you. And I also would like to thank Gorazd, the Slovenia ambassador in Brazil, for creating this bridge and being so supportive on this knowledge exchange between Slovenia and Brazil. Also Ladea for being an inspiration and a long-term partner for such a long time. I was in Slovenia last year, as she mentioned, on an international panel, sharing the experiences of what we've been doing here in Brazil. And also thank Isabella Teixeira, who is going to be here in the next panel, for being very supportive and advising us on this transition, and a great opportunity to be here learning from all of you. I will also share a couple of slides to present to you what has been our learning so far here in Brazil and evolution. We are very happy to see that the industry has been leading the transition and has been a very good development, because we've seen in the beginning, when we started this conversation in Brazil in 2015, it has been a lot about awareness raising. We had the opportunity to have the Ellen MacArthur Foundation opening her the first chapter in Latin America in Brazil. So it's been very influential in bringing the topic, the discussion around industry. And in 2017, we have the strategic map for the industry for the next 4 years. And circular economy appears there as a strong element for industry development. So we are very happy to see the industry getting engaged. Last year, they developed a document that is very helpful together with a national event focused on circular economy. And industry has been very active on the ISO developments. Brazil, I think, was the only country on the first meeting in Paris in 2018. And we are now organizing a study group at COPANT, which is the standard association in Latin America. And since last year, we've been seeing a strong movement from the Ministry of Science and Technology. With the support of UNIDO, we started the roadmap in circular economy in Brazil, Chile, Mexico, and Uruguay. So I think the moment now is to engage the industry and take the information and the possibilities around circular economy. That is not just about what we already have, but what you can achieve with this new mindset. So I just want to share with you our 3 great learnings from our journey. Since 2015, we've been working, influencing the transition in Brazil. And the first learning is that technology is only one part. So we need a whole cultural change and policy development to really influence the transition. We need to work around supply chain integration. The market and science have to be working together. We need this systemic view. And as we are talking about the current scenario of the pandemic situation, coronavirus, I think this has demonstrated to all of us how we are interconnected, the importance of working along the supply chain, because it's not just about the large organizations surviving. We need the large, the small, the medium-sized companies. And there's a really great example that I've been saying, that the pandemic is pushing the mindset of circular economy. The industry has gathered to repair 3,000 ventilators that were found left broken in the industry. So there was an initiative to gather these ventilators, to repair them together with the automotive industry. and the country has saved almost 300 million reais. So this is a very good example. The second learning is that we need to understand the interconnectivity about all the supply chains. We need to have science education working, bringing the information and co-creating solutions. So we are working not just to influence the transition in the industry level, but also in the agricultural level, the construction level. So I think we need this facilitator, as Ladeia always say, to connect and make these solutions go beyond the company boundaries. And we have another great example of unusual connections. During the pandemic, Ambev, a brewery, together with Gerdau, a steel manufacturer, they got together with a small startup called Brasil ao Cubo to build a hospital in 40 days. So this is a demonstration that we can work together, we can collaborate, we can make difficult and fast decisions if we are working together towards a common goal. So that's another great example of this new scenario. And to finish my learning journey and what is happening in Brazil and what we have been doing along these years is our understanding that Ladeia stressed that as well. We need new rules, new values, new governance, and the companies have to be the leaders on that. But also understand that we cannot do it alone. Every time someone asks me if a company say, oh, I'm doing circular economy, I always ask, who are you doing with? Because you cannot do it alone within your company boundaries. Of course, you need this vision, you need this inside this strategy, but we need to create a suitable ecosystem to develop partnerships, to build trust and collaboration. And this is what we have been doing since the beginning of the year with the Circular Economy Brazilian Hub. And despite these unusual times, we've been able to gather and create some clusters. We have 13 companies now together, determined to look and to work together, breaking barriers and developing circular economy in practice in Brazil. And we are very happy to say, as Ernesto has said, we have gathered more than 16 experts to create this new book, which we understand the market still needs education and understanding, and this knowledge exchange between Europe and Brazil. It's crucial to see the transition in Latin America. My experience by talking to all these experts and exchanging knowledge, that despite the cultural differences and the different geographic dimensions that Latin America countries have from Europe, people, industry, and government are the same everywhere in the world. So we can learn a lot from this type of knowledge exchange, and we need networks and more networks to, as frequently always say, learn fast, fail fast, and do it again, and let's move on. And Ladeia has written an article on this book. Goras has also written a quote for that, and we're really excited to have this in the near future, sharing with everybody. So at the end, it's all about looking beyond. So it's not just about product design, recycling, and materials flow. We need to collaborate. We need to develop new commercial relationships and create value creation. And this is what we've been doing, and we need this new economic balance among all of us. And it's a pleasure to be here, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Beatriz. Very interesting listen, these 3 lessons learned from Brazil, and especially this innovative issue of the maintenance of ventilators, which is a very applied situation to the current pandemic environment. So now we are going to hear from Chile. I would like to introduce Lynette Solway. She is Director of Technology Transfer and Circular Economy at Fundación Empresarial Eurochile. She holds a master's in environmental engineering from the University College London, currently supporting the Chilean Ministry of Environment with the coordination and preparation of the Circular Economy Roadmap for Chile, as well as other circular economy projects aiming at supporting small and micro enterprises in their transition. The floor is with you, Lynette. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. And just before starting my presentation, I'd like to give a big thanks to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Slovenia, and also, of course, the Fundación EU-LAC for this invitation and for this platform also to discuss all these very interesting pathways to a circular economy and these ideas and concepts that really need to be shared and promoted. So just give me a second, I'll share my screen. I also, while the screen loads, I also really want to say a special thanks to LADEA because of creating these instances also of joining the dots, right, of linking different organizations and people in order to well, promote and collaboration for a circular economy, which, as Beatriz also well said, circular economy does not exist without collaboration. So really, this role as connector is key, and it's been key definitely also for Eurochile. Actually, the foundation was created nearly 28 years ago in order to promote links between EU and Chile. So it's also really nice to be here. When we were created, were not initially given the role to work on circular economy. I mean, 28 years ago anyway, it wasn't really on the agenda yet. But lately, I would say in the past 5-6 years, the foundation has really seen that it's a very important concept and strategy that needs to be brought from Europe to, well, specifically Chile, where the foundation is located. And that's what we've been trying to do for the past, I would say, 5 years. And now, since beginning of the year, since March, we have been actually supporting the ministry in creating their own circular economy roadmap with the help of LADEA. And just before I start, I'd like to say, and I think it's important to understand also the context that, so I chose this picture for Chile, but it's actually very different to choose a picture that shows what Chile is. I mean, when you have a over 4,000 kilometer long country, which starts close to Peru, with one of the driest deserts in the world, and then ends very close to Antarctica. It's actually the country that's closest physically to Antarctica, with all these glaciers, and in the middle you go through more desert, and then wine country, and very dense also urban centers such as Santiago and Valparaiso, which concentrate over 50% of the population. And then you continue journey south through rainforests and much more southern and temperate vegetation and climates. That it's very difficult to show Chile in one image, but I think one thing that definitely connects north to south are the mountains, which I also very much like, so that's why I decided the mountains. And I think it's very important. I think Brazil probably faces the same challenges, that when you're thinking of a circular economy roadmap or strategy for a country that's 4,000 kilometers long, with so many different realities in climate and resources and geography and access to infrastructure, you really have to consider it when you're building the strategy. So just to start off where Chile, what Chile has been doing in terms of circular economy until what we are doing now. So back in 2016, the framework for waste management, extended producer responsibility and promotion of recycling law was passed, which we commonly call the EPR law. But actually the discussion about this specific EPR law had started over 10 years before June 2016. And just took a long time in the making. Now we have 6 priority products: lubricating oils, packaging, batteries, electric and electronic equipment, tires and car batteries. And we currently have 2 supreme decrees, or we've established, let's say, the objectives for 2 of these 6 products, packaging and tires. And so the goals, the first years for this EPR law to start being implemented is predicted to be 2023. It did get extended a little bit because of the current situation, but at least, and as we'll see later, the packaging supreme decree has already been approved. So after June 2016, we jumped to August 2018, where Chile was the first Latin American country to completely ban plastic bags. Actually, so the law was voted in 2019, started acting in 6 months later, so that's, what is it, February 2019 for big companies, right? Big supermarkets, etc. And last August, on the 3rd of August, or since the 3rd of August of this year, actually, all plastic bags have been forbidden. So even now, if you go to the market or a small shop, they're not allowed to give you a plastic bag, which also, I mean, it can look as a small step, and European countries have definitely taken this step a long time ago, but it's also a very a way of promoting and making visible these changes, right? Because now when whatever citizen goes to a shop and forgot his paper or fabric bag, it's really, oh God, I forgot this bag. And so it really reminds you of the change that's occurring in the country. Then a year later, nearly, Chile joined the Plastic Pact. It's actually the 3rd country to join this initiative by the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, and the first in Latin America. And they already have their own roadmap, which, if I'm not mistaken, was published earlier this year. And all in all, there's a group of companies and, of course, different ministries and institutions cooperating in this specific initiative. Then this year, the ministry has been working on the National Strategy for Organic Waste. It was just presented not that long ago, a couple of months ago, to public consultation. The public consultation is now finished, so we expect the strategy to be officially published by the end of the year. And at the same time, as I was telling you, in May 2020, the Supreme Decree that sets the recycling goals for the packaging sector has already been voted as well. So you have all these strategies and some additional private and public initiatives going around. And the ministry said, okay, so we have all these, and there's also, I didn't mention, but there's also a roadmap for the construction sector, specifically their demolition and construction waste. So all these initiatives were being made a bit individually, right? So one initiative led by this one organization with the support, of course, of mainly the main, always the same and the main actors, but still, they were all a bit apart. So the ministry said, okay, now we need, they were actually thinking of creating a national strategy for waste, because they had this one for organic waste, etc. But then they said, no, now we need something that is cross-cutting, that can also encompass all of these other initiatives going along. And that's why they launched this circular economy roadmap. So actually, the first time the roadmap was officially launched and mentioned was nearly 2 years ago, back in December 2018. Eurochile, together with the Ministry of the Environment and UNIDO, actually organized a circular economy forum in Santiago, where the ministry launched the start of the building of this national circular economy roadmap. Followed suit an initial mapping of all the actors that are currently involved or working on circular economy and the ones that should be involved. Then, as Beatriz also mentioned, there is this project financed by UNIDO that is being carried out in Chile, Brazil, Uruguay, and Mexico to build circular economy roadmaps in all these countries. But considering the ministry had already in mind to build their own roadmap, we're actually using all these insight from the study from the UNIDO project, specifically the CTCN project, to help us in defining the main strategies for the Chilean circular economy roadmap. And then, as I said, beginning of this year, the construction of the national circular economy roadmap, let's say, began, supported, so it's led by 4 main organizations, the Ministry of the Environment, of course, but also the Ministry of Economy of Chile, Corfo, which is the Promotion and Development Agency in Chile, and the Agencia de Sustentabilidad y Cambio Climático, which is the Sustainability and Climate Change Agency. And as you can see here, Eurochile were supporting the construction of this roadmap, as well as CBI, the Consensus Building Institute. And these 6 organizations, we form the what we call the executive committee. So the ones leading and carrying out day-to-day activities and coordinating the entire action. There's 5 main objectives to the Chilean circular economy roadmap process. The first one being, as has already been mentioned, a key aspect for the construction of a circular, or the implementation of a circular economy anywhere, is to connect the key actors, in this case, in Chile, right? Then second, with these key actors, imagine what this Chile Circular, so a circular Chile, will look like in 20 years, considering the roadmap's time frame is 2020-2040. Also a very important very important steps, which we have also discussed a lot with LADEA, is how to reach consensus regarding specific changes and very important changes that must happen to achieve the vision. For example, here, a complete change in the structure of waste management. Today, to send to landfill a ton of waste costs around $10. Whereas if you want to compost organic waste, it costs approximately $30. So there needs to be a complete restructuration of this system, where the costs actually reflect the real impacts of each strategy. And that is only one of these big consensuses we have had to discuss with the strategic committee I'll introduce a bit later. Fourth objective, to design the strategy and the action plan that will lead us, Chile, to be a circular territory. And finally, and also key aspect, is to position the topic of the circular economy in the country. It's not enough that only a small group of elite organizations know about what this circular economy talk is about, right? It really needs to seep through all organizations, all levels of society, and reach all of us as people, as citizens, right, of the country. So that's also a very important aspect of the roadmap. Who is working on the roadmap? As I mentioned before, we have this executive committee, and then we have this strategic committee, which is a committee made up of 33 organizations, approximately. So we have 9 ministries represented and 5 other public institutions, such as municipalities, very key in this implementation, right? Then we also have 2 representatives of academia, 2 experts, 5 civil society organizations, and 10 representatives of the private sector. So all in all, 33. And we've been working with them since, I would say, end of April, beginning of May. We've had already a lot of meetings, and they've basically been the ones building this roadmap, right, with their visions, their ideas, their needs, their aspirations for what circular Chile in 2040 would look like and what we need to get there. It's been really interesting to have all these different actors around the virtual table, because as Ladeya mentioned, in March, when this process started, was when the first cases of coronavirus were registered in Chile. And so really, we also kind of took a moment and said, okay, what do we do? Do we start it now? Or do we wait a couple of months or more now, we see, until we can meet together in real life? And we decided, no, we have to really take the opportunity to start it now, because if not now, then when? It's going to be too late once we can go back to real life meetings, and once the economy gets kickstarted again, everybody's going to be busy actually thinking of how they make their organization survive, instead of kind of taking this opportunity to say, okay, let's think about how we will kickstart our economy again. And here actually the Minister of Environment in Chile, Carolina Schmidt, has been also very involved in the making of the roadmap. The Minister of Economy has also participated, really showing that this is a commitment from the highest levels. And actually the Chilean roadmap is a commitment by the Chilean government in their newest NDCs. So actually in their newest NDCs, they had 3 commitments related to circular economy. One was this national strategy for organic waste, which is underway. The second is this roadmap. And the third is to create a monitoring framework for the circular economy. Also a big and interesting challenge. And finally, so working also with us on this circular economy pathway is an international advisory committee, where we're very lucky to have the support of the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, CITRA, the World Economic Forum, the IDB, the OECD, the Ministries of Environment of France and the Netherlands, William McDonough, UNIDO, and I hope I didn't forget anyone. So really, it's been these past nearly, 9 months working very hard on defining our vision, defining the initiatives and actions that need to be taken to meet this vision, and the objectives that are gonna reflect, let's hope, the success of the Chilean circular economy roadmap. So here are not all of them, but the main objectives we've discussed and finally agreed on with this strategic committee for 2030 and 2040. So we have how many how many additional jobs the circular economy is going to add, an objective on municipal solid waste generation per capita, another on municipal solid waste recycling rates, where Chile is actually has a debt here because municipal solid waste recycling is actually very low. Waste generation in relation to GDP, and also the general recycling rate. And maybe here one that's lacking, because we tried, so we were working on these objectives, and this is my last slide, and I finish here. We were working on the objectives, and the civil society and Subpoint said, hey, we also want an objective that reflects that the circular economy is not only good for the economy and for the environment, which we know it is, but also we need an objective. We need to show that the circular economy is also good for people and quality of life. So we're actually working on adding an objective that also can show that the circular economy is not only good for economy and environment, but also for society as a whole and for quality of life of everyone living in Chile. That's it for me. Thank you very much. I'm also very happy to answer any questions that you could have.
Thank you very much, Lynette. I would like to comment that your Minister of Environment, Carolina Schmid, she wrote an article in our newsletter, in the last edition of the EU-LAC Foundation newsletter on climate change in times of COVID-19, which can be downloaded directly from our website. There is a question for all of you, but because of the time constraint, I would like to request for yourselves to answer the question through the Q&A in a written mode. And now I would like to introduce the next panelist. Indeed, he was not be able to join us in person today. Is Mr. Fernando Brites from Paraguay. Unfortunately, he had another commitment on the time of this webinar, but he sent us a video. And Mr. Fernando Brites, he is the founder of the NGO Cora Paraguay, from where they promote the circular economy and sustainability in Paraguay. I would like to request to one of my colleagues to share the screen with the video recorded by Mr. Fernando Brites. Let's see if it's gonna work. Just 1 minute more. Okay, if it doesn't work, we'll have to pass to another panel. Let's try once again. Yeah, it's gonna work? Okay. Sorry about that, it's a very heavy file. No. No hay sonido. Para mí tampoco. Sorry. Can you listen this presentation? Okay, so I think it's better than unfortunately, we will not feature the presentation right now, but we are gonna upload on our website. So from tomorrow, jointly with the recording from this webinar, we will add the video from Paraguay, from Cora, Paraguay, from Mr. Fernando Benitez. This will be available on our website for all of the participants and panelists. I'm sorry, but maybe because of the size of the video and the internet connections, we are not going to be able to screen right now. So we are now have to move to the third panel, which is about the multilateral perspective, multilateral platforms. And we are going to start with Mrs. Isabella Teixeira. Mrs. Isabella Teixeira is a biologist with master's degree in energy planning and a PhD in environmental planning from the Federal University of Rio de Janeiro. She was former Minister of Environment of Brazil during Lula and Dilma Rousseff mandate from 2010 to 2016. She is co-chair of the International Resource Panel, IRP, winner of the UNEP Champions of the World Award and chief negotiator for the Brazilian delegation in the Paris Agreement. Please go ahead, Isabella.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sorry.
Hear me? Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Hello. Yes. I'm sorry. I repeat. First of all, thank you very much for inviting me to join you. I just need an answer. How much time you have to manage, consider this is the last session? I think that I'll do my best around 10 minutes. I understand that Ernest has another problem to solve. Okay, let's talk here how I can manage this last session together with Denise Amu from UNEP in Brazil, and in talking about multilateral platforms and challenges that you need to face considering the next years, but meaning considering post-COVID crisis and the challenges that, what are the implications? I'd like here to address three different blocks to facilitate my presentation, because as a co-chair of International Resource Panel, of course, I very useful that I can address some issues considering the whole of circular economy and green recovery and how we face this. But we have really good presentations from Ledea and also from Beatriz Luz and other partners from our friends from Chile that explain very well how Latin American countries, European countries, they are looking forward to be together, and how indeed they're looking forward to address solutions based on the new green economies. But I'd like to highlight here in the first block the role of RIP and how we're working indeed to manage better green recovery and why politically, strategically, green recovery is so important. The second block is about Brazil and not only considering Brazil and Latin America, if you allowed me, okay, because we have a provocative question, if you can have an alliance, how we can be together, European Union countries and Latin American countries. And I understand this is also beyond what you have today in discussion concerning European Union and Mercosur countries, a trade agreement. And as a political player, I'd like to highlight here 3 or 4 issues to have background and to understand better how we need to manage at the global level. First of all, world post-COVID probably is not, COVID will be not the only one health crisis that we need to face in this century, okay? And we cannot forget that to have other disruptive process in the world, consider the relationship between nature and humankind. And one of good example for this is exactly the pressure that we have on deforestation, from deforestation into forests, and how this can provoke a disruptive ecological equilibrium between into the ecological cycles that we have in the forest. And this you have arbovirus, have a really huge innovative debate after COVID, consider health security and how we need to manage it, also consider climate change. So it's important to highlight this because we need to face vulnerability and risks in this century. And that's why also circular economy is very important. I try to connect everything at the end of my presentation. My second point is that we cannot forget that COVID crisis provoked or demanded for investments that raised the public debt. This around the world. It's not only in developing economies, but also in developing economies, okay? The investments are so huge, and it means that it has to be paid, this debt, fiscal debts, have to be paid by the future generations. So that's why take decision today to green recovery and sustainability is more than a reputational measure. This is a pragmatic choice. Okay, we need to understand this in the context of the stability of global financial system and how indeed these new green economies, they are coming to make the difference in a positive way, in such a way that we can have a sustained economic growth in the future. And that's why the decision today is so important. Consider a pragmatic approach. This is not something only for the environmentalists. This means how we can bring these words together and how indeed we can use science that will address better solutions and give to us how we can action in really concrete basis. So this is, for me, a big picture that is very interesting to highlight here. Another thing is to build back better means that we need smarter use of natural resource. And this is a key message from International Resource Panel, okay? We need to understand from the way that we live, the way that we eat, we move, build cities, generate wealth, we need shift to a new paradigm of resource use, new relationship between humankind and nature. So it's not only a small group or some clusters of economic constituencies that want to address some regional solution. No, it's a big challenge. And indeed, how we'll connect things and how the world will play geopolitically. And of course, that we have the powerful umbrella that's called climate change. And climate change together with health crisis, they are putting pressure on us, okay, exactly to say how we will promote development, inclusive and green development around the world, and how we manage social inequalities. This means how we can have ambition, how we can act, and how we can improve international cooperation. the three strategic building blocks or building pillars to understand and know how we need to move forward. But indeed, as Lavinia showed to us, we have our life based on backwards, okay? So it's really something very fascinating geopolitically and geoeconomically saying, because it's a new way to bring societies together. Of course, that to have the different impacts from the economy of innovation, economy of knowledge, and I don't have time to explore this here, but it's also very fascinating how indeed we can go to strength multilateral system and how indeed we can be together in a way that today we still have the protectionism and unilateralism put pressure against us. And this is part of some players from negationists, climate negationists, sustainability negationists, that unfortunately we have this in our country today in Brazil. This is something, I'm sorry to use the expression, politically painful for me, especially, okay? Because Brazil has been managed the sustainability agenda as an expression of our soft power in the last 35 years. And this was a choice that we took exactly to be aligned with the future. It was a diplomatic ambition. This is part of our national interest journey in the last 35 years. So indeed, we need to understand the impacts from the government, but we need to understand how society and different segments of the society are moving on. And that's exactly how Beatriz Luiz shows to us that industry in Brazil and private sector plays an important role to address circular economy or new economies to come to our development. So we can also understand when you have IRP that how scientific group can provide actionable information to relevant policy process. So we understand in IRP that business as usual is no longer an option. We need a new business as usual. And for the sustainable management of natural resources, including better and smarter use of materials, biomass, fossil fuels, and non-metallic minerals, has many benefits. We have new ways to see and to approach nature, decoupling the economic growth and the environmental impact. And of course, two important issues. Climate change, we have a recent report that was launched last week, that illustrates very well how we can use resource efficient international national climate change strategy to not only to tackle climate change, but to mitigate, to cut emissions, and to address development. This is amazing how we can pick up some economic sectors and use this to influence ambition step by step in a concrete reality, considering local needs and national interests and global co-benefits. Also, the pace of global transition to zero carbon economy is not going backwards. It is absolutely something that even if you don't know all the answers and you don't have all the answers, but the fact that to have the United States back with Mr. Biden election, and also the fact that to have China that took the decision to anticipate the peak of emissions, and also if you can manage China, for example, to achieve some targets, climate targets, 2025 and 2030, this will make really a robust difference in the world. Because when you have developed economy established 2050, you have developed China established 2060 as the target year, target time, you have this interval, you have this period that means for developing economies that they will come together. And this means that you need to be faster to address solutions considering the new economies and how indeed we can readdress international investment flows and scientific acknowledgement to be part of our reality, of our transformative ambition, for example, to job generation and to address social inequalities. Countries like Brazil and Latin American countries, we need solutions aligned to job generation and to solve social inequalities. It's not something that I think that Lynette mentioned this, consider the elites that we manage this. We need to bring this in the local needs. We need to make people to act as part of the solution, not to be afraid or be managed, consider risks and vulnerability. We are completely destroyed, if you can, emotionally destroyed after COVID crisis. Okay, it's absolutely important that we move on, considering how we can bring a positive message that we are able to face the challenge, but we need to change, and we need to consider how indeed different societies will bring solution together. And this is, for me, a big challenge for international cooperation system, even because we need to rethinking the way to generate wealth. And this means that we need circular economy strategies, national circular economy strategies, as part of national strategy for climate change, as part of national strategy for nature conservation, and how we'd like to express our national interest, the new way of a national interest that you can bring nature as part of this. So it's not to discuss the past, it's to have the ambition for the future. It's different, okay? And as I used to say, we need to tell new stories based on the future. This means that we need to understand the local needs. This means, for example, in the case of Latin America, how can you use this umbrella, considered green, the new green economies, to manage solutions, for example, Amazon region. And when you go to Latin American and Caribbean countries, it's absolutely important that you can understand the role of nature when you look, for example, Amazon region or Amazon basin, or then you go to Plata River basin in the south of the country, in the south of Brazil, in the south of Latin America, or South America. It's absolutely key that you can understand how we can connect these countries, these interests, and circular economy, again, industry, agriculture, cities, and infrastructure make absolutely sense to address difference and to address solutions, sorry. So my last comment, because I don't have much time, is that considering Brazil realities, I'd like here to highlight that we produced last year for G20 group, the fact sheets about the last 50 years, how we use natural resource, the impact of this considered circular economy. This is available on the IRP website, and it's amazing that you can see how we increase the use of natural resources and how we provoke the damage, not only environmental damage, but the impacts of greenhouse in climate change, in trade, and also in biodiversity loss. We know that if we're efficient, if we have natural resource efficiency, we can manage better greenhouse emissions, around 50-60% of the global emissions, if we can manage better, but also biodiversity law and water stress. So if you go with Amazonia, I think that we cannot forget, in my opinion, personally, that would be really very interested that we can have an alliance to put together with the Amazon countries to apply green recovery as Amazon regions as a benchmark. This is something very important to be highlighted here, because we're not discussing only the forest ecosystem. You discuss urban ecosystems also, okay? So if you go to Amazonia in Brazil, Amazon, you have 25 million people that live there. And 8% of these people live in cities. So it makes sense for us to discuss circular economy and solution, and also industrial requirements, for example, bioeconomy, et cetera, to understand the role of this region, not only to cut deforestation, to tackle deforestation, because this is most based on locality. We know how to do this, but we need to understand, if you take a decision to have the forest preserved, what are the challenges that you need to promote sustainable development in that region? Bring all the countries together. In a circular economy, it is absolutely important to address solutions for this. My last comment is that consider a multilateral system that will need to be strengthened, international cooperation, as I mentioned before. The future will be shaped by soft power, not necessarily for hard power. I'm sorry, but we are changing, okay? And circular economy is part of the expression of soft power of all countries around the world. It's a new way to be part of the world. It's a new way also for the emerging developing economies to play together in a new expression of global south. I used to like to use the expression the green global south. So makes sense for us, more than this, makes sense for us to bring science together, makes sense for us to understand that subnational, local subnational efforts, non-state players, how they will come to strengthen multilateral international cooperation, but more than this, how it makes sense to have a sustainable, inclusive, and green development around the world. This will make the difference. And for this, we need to have a huge effort to bring people together, not only in the conference of parties, etc., but in the global movement where a circular economy will influence consumption and production, and circular economy is part of our choices. And this means that we have responsibility. We are co-responsible for the decisions that our society and our governments they are taking. And this is very, very important to bring people together. If not, again, you have some people that used to take decisions based on their interests, and they used to be the lowest ambition. And what the society wants now is a higher ambition to change. And COVID put this pressure on us, but more than this, give to us an opportunity to change. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Isabella, for your very interesting and provocative issues that actually brought to the discussions perspectives from the point of view of the geopolitics and the geoeconomics, and raising the importance of the multilateral systems. I would like just to stress that in the period that in which Isabella Teixeira was the Minister of Environment, she registered the two major achievements in Brazil. The first one was the smallest deforestation in the recent history in Amazon, and the second was the approval of the Brazilian Forest Code that I forgot to mention when I read the biography of Mrs. Isabella Teixeira. So now for our...
Ernest, if you allow me 1 minute. This is really good, but I have the lowest rates of deforestation in Amazonia, but it's okay. But this is the past. What we need to use is how we can, for example, have forest code implementation, and what it means for the new deliveries of the agriculture, tropical agriculture, Brazilian agriculture, in the future, consider protection and production, food security. It's unacceptable that a country like Brazil, one of the most important food producers, we still have hunger in our country. And so this is the big challenge, how we can add value supply chains based on circular economy, and how consumers and producers will make the difference, how the markets will influence this, and how we together can share a vision. Let's face hunger, the world hunger, and how we can, private sector, non-state players can come together. This is a powerful message that we need. This means to go beyond the environmental constituency. This means to play as sustainable development players or actors. So sorry to apologize, but this is very important to highlight. Not back to the past, but go to the future.
No, including going to the future. There was exactly one question on this direction that some colleagues in the panel already replied. That was how to encourage the participation of small farmers in circular economy hubs. So, but if you wish to add this, you can write on the Q&A answer, but other colleagues in the panel already reply on these questions about the involvement of small farmers within the initiatives of circular economy. So thank you very much again, Isabella. Now I would like to introduce Denise Ramu. Denise Ramu has a degree in international relations and another in history, both from the University of Brasilia, and she holds a master's in museum studies from the George Washington University with emphasis in natural history and cultural anthropology. She is an experienced manager with more than 25 years working in nature conservation and development issues in Brazil at local, national, and international levels, combining field and headquarter experience. Mrs. Ramu is the representative nowadays for the UNEP Brazil office since 2011. Please, Mrs. Denise.
Well, thank you very much for the invitation. I would like to thank Ambassador of Slovenia in Brazil for the kind invitation. And I would like to start by saying that it's very difficult to talk after Minister Isabella Teixeira, no? Because we always, she opens so much, widens the huge horizon that we have, that is difficult to go back to a more multilateral environment, which is too big, but in a way that is more of the same, if you want. What she's saying is that we need new ways of clustering with global movements, and that we need to go beyond all the nationalities that sit in our international bodies. But I'm going to share my screen. I have some slides that I hope I won't take too long. Can you hear? Can you see it? Yes, no?
Yes.
Yes. So I'd like I'm not going to stop here and to talk about them, because I know that everybody, especially those who are dealing with circular economy, has already addressed all the challenges of the current economic model towards sustainable future. What does this mean? That we have to have nature-based solutions and all that's listed there. So I'm not going to stick to that. Why do we have to take action? Isabella is co-chair of the International Resource Panel, and they have published incredible documents. And one of them is I forgot the name here of the source, is Global Resource Outlook, that has incredible figures that really put together information from around the world. Here are some of them. We are also talking, and I heard already, that circularity needs to be inclusive. And why? With business, governments, with communities, that we have to involve a private sector, that we have, it's a really win-win situation. So I'm not going to stop here. Again, with the data from the International Resource Panel, we have here the need to really target 1.5 degrees from Paris Agreement, that it's already very difficult to have many countries, how can I say, addressing what they had presented during Paris Agreement. But why do we need to take action now? So the data is there, and I'm sure you know, but I wanted to keep it for just to make sense what we are doing. And circularity requires creativity and cooperation among all value chain actors. Here again, we have discussed, I heard very inspiring examples, and we really don't want to leave nobody behind. So this is, I mean, it's a kind of new way of putting together the Agenda 2030 with all the SDGs there, and how are we going to address how are we going to cut into layers or pieces some of the issues we are going to address. So UNEP is really working on shaping a good strategy on advocacy. We have a UNEP circularity platform that I'm sure many of you know about it, but I would like to urge those who are just seeing and watching to go there and to see all the tools and instruments that we have, where we centralize resources, and it's nurture a community of practice on building circularity across UNEP, within UNEP, which is a big challenge as well, but also outside UNEP, bringing all the state members to share information and best practices. Currently, we have several ongoing projects, but I listed 4 of them. One on plastics, another one on textiles, electronics, mining, and several others. But I would like to say that those are the ones who are really how can I say, deserving specific teams working on them. So whether should you like to see and or discuss or some more information, I'll be glad to provide to you. As Isabella was saying, there are several publications. This, The Weight of Cities, was published by the International Resource Panel. It's a very interesting book and has been released some months ago, very few months ago. And here we have, for instance, another publication, which is Growing Cycles, which is related to climate and cities also, which is very interesting. And I just included some more information so that you can see some of the latest publications of UNEP on global aspects, regional aspects. We also have several case studies that I'm not going to get into them now. The next slide is the one, what are we doing on circularity in Brazil from UNEP's perspective? We have been developing the Clean Seas campaign for about 4 years now, which is a campaign, it was a very broad campaign, but that we tackled plastic, and now we are tackling plastic in the tourism sector. So we are going to launch a new campaign, well, not a new campaign, latest edition of the Clean Seas campaign, associated with a research that was developed by the University of Brasilia on the perception of the tourism sector regarding single-use plastics. So we are going to further this study, further the knowledge, and we are going to really increase the campaign reach, not only to as a public awareness, but we are talking to specific states in Brazil and some municipalities after the elections to really see where we can make a change. So we know that Brazil is big, it's huge. We have a huge coastal area that we can really address some aspects and do a cross-cutting approach by, for instance, municipalities that are within 200 kilometers from the coastal area of Brazil. So you have, I don't know, 3,000 municipalities. So, I mean, we can do, or states. And we are also going to do public policy approach with the new mayors that are just being elected over the last 2 weeks in Brazil. We are also going to address a plastic-free food delivery that was how can I say, a situation that we see increased and very, very difficult to understand, that very few people have addressed, was during the COVID. Most of people have stayed at home. And so we receive at home all kinds of plastic, all the inputs, I mean, the food is brought with plastic, and we just don't know what to do with them. So we are starting a very intense campaign to mobilize iFood, Uber Eats, and several other that delivers those food during the pandemic, so that we can find new business opportunities for reusable containers. We also are partners of the PAGE, Partnership for Green Economy, with the state of Mato Grosso. We have been developing a very intense work with them. It is with UNIDO, UNDP, ILO, and we have been working with them for the last 4 years. So this is not a lot, but we would like to stress that UNEP is here to share knowledge, to bring information, to seek good projects that we can really make a difference. So those were my main points. I know we are late, so I'd like to leave you with my email contact should you need some more information. And I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Denise. Indeed, we are quite late for the moment. I would like to, before we close, and I pass the floor to Mrs. Irena Grill, that was one of the persons that conceptualized the idea of this webinar in behalf of the government of Slovenia. I would like to say that not just only the recording of this webinar and the video from the Paraguay case, as well as your slides, will be available through our website by tomorrow. And I hope that most of the questions could be answered through the chat. And I would like to thank you again for all of the panelists for making these answers available for the participants. And before the closure, I would like now to give the chance for Mrs. Irena Grill to say some words. Please, Mrs. Irena. You are mute. Can you activate your microphone? Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Thank you to all the participants. I would like to express my sincere gratitude to all of you for your contributions to the very useful and excellent discussion that we have today, for your participation, and also especially for your work you are doing in circular economy in different countries on different steps and fields. I would like also to say thank you and express our gratitude to the EU-LAC Foundation, our partners through last couple of years by different initiatives, and to Director Bonilla, and to you, Ernesto, as an excellent moderator of today's webinar. And I hope that we will have chance to cooperate also in the future. So with the EU-LAC Foundation, as with all of you who participated today's webinar. Perhaps this will be occasion also at one of further initiatives of our Latin American days and Latin Americans and Caribbean days international conference. We plan to have it next year in the spring, but in the meantime, we would like to organize also some webinars. So thank you on behalf of the government, on behalf of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and on my own, to all of you for this excellent webinar. Thank you.
Thank you once again, Irena. Just adding on what you have commented. Indeed, we hope if pandemic allows, we very much would like Ladea mentioned, to have a face-to-face gathering, which is much warmer for discussing this very pleasant subject of circular economy and climate change. So if pandemic allows, we would like pretty much to organize not just only within the Latin American Caribbean Days next year in Ljubljana, one of our reflection forums dedicated to environment, climate change, and sustainable development, but also in Latin America and perhaps in Brazil, because we have already in conversations with the Ambassador Gozard Renselli in organizing a similar meeting in Brazil, but next time inviting and having other Latin American countries as well as other European countries on board to hear from their respective experiences, recommendations, and lessons, which actually is within the mandate of the EU-LAC Foundation to promote this bi-regional dialogue and learn among ourselves to build a more fair and sustainable society in both of the regions. I don't know if Mr. Bonilla would like to have final words or...
No, my final word is only to thank again to the government of Slovenia, Irena, the Minister Stanislav, and every one of the panelists for the participation in this webinar. This webinar has been very successful, and we have learned, I think, every one of us a lot. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So I hope to see you soon in other similar events, and hope that this can be the first of a series of other joint productive work on this subject. Thank you, and have a nice end of the day in Europe, and continuation of the Labor Day in Brazil and Latin American countries. Okay.
I'm sorry, and thank you very much for the ambassador here in Brazil. Okay, it's an important leadership for next year. I promise. Let's see.
Sure.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.